So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever IACT, IMDHA, IHF, ICBCH, LMNOP, and every other friendly hypnosis organization welcomes you to our virtual chapter holiday banquet. We're glad that you're here with us, and we have 6 courses of fine presenters to share some lovely things with you this evening. I want to get started right away. So I just need to let you know that if you're watching this on recording or live now, you can get CEUs for this if you are from IACT or IMDHA, just by logging onto their website and listing that you were at the virtual chapter. And I'm sure that other organizations will also give you credit for being here for an hour and a half to talk about hypnosis with us. So, so please be sure and get credit where credit is due. And with that said, the first course, of course, in this, did I say course, of course?
Yes,
I'm suddenly thinking of Mr. Ed comes to mind. But the first course in this banquet is the amuse-bouche. And if anyone's bouche has ever amused me, it has been this lovely lady and my delightful friend, Karen Hand. So Karen, welcome to the banquet. And
thank you so much, Michael. I'm so delighted that you assigned me to do this because I am constantly learning something from Michael Watson. He never fails to teach something to me, to entertain me. And so I learned because of this what amuse-bouche is. Does anybody else know what it is? Okay, right. Well, I didn't either, but I looked it up. Google is a wonderful thing. And Google let me know that amuse-bouche is the one serving or the tiny little serving or servings throughout the meal, a palate cleansing kind of thing, perhaps. So if you get a little sorbet between courses, that would be considered that kind of free offering. Did I get that right, Michael?
I think so. And it amuses your bouche, your mouth, right?
Yes. Well, see, I of course thought that bouche meant something else entirely, but I did discover, thanks to Google, that it does mean mouth. So it's amusing our mouth. Well, it's also after dinner, and we're having another buffet. So it's palate cleansing so that we can have food for our mind. How's that?
Oh,
so
right.
This will be your tiny little servings of one bite elements. I've got 3 for you to sample tonight. And the first is a way to, as we settle into this fun party tonight, get rid of any anger or frustrations that you might have left over from the day. Let's just set those aside right now. And I have a very simple technique that I would like to offer to you for that. I learned this, by the way, from Kelly T. Woods. She put together the basic concept. I added a little suds description to it, and this is what we have. So to get rid of any anger or frustration or anything left over from the day, I'd like you to now think about where you are on a scale of 1 to 10 with that. 1 being you're completely calm and wonderful. 10 being, oh, you're angry or frustrated a bit. So just decide where you are on that scale. If you are below a 5, you'll only need 1 hand for this exercise. If you are 5 or above, you'll need both hands for this exercise. So decide where you are on that rating, and then put 1 hand or both hands, depending on where you are. If you are 5 below, you only need 1 hand. If you are 5 or above, you need both hands for this, okay? Put your hands a few inches in front of your face, and look at your hand or hands maybe as you've never looked at them before. Look at them in a very interesting sort of way. And as you do, make a circle with your thumb and first finger. Just make a circle there. And now as you're looking at your ring finger and your little finger, as you're thinking about releasing all that frustration or anger, slowly now begin to roll your little finger and your ring finger down into your palm and release all remaining anger or frustration right out of that remaining digit. Let it go. Just let it go now. Thank you very much. Really? And everybody is chuckling and everybody is feeling better. And just really? A little bit of, yes, really, just to add a little bit of layering onto that. One of the reasons you let go of anger or frustration or anything else is because the minute you catch on to the joke, you start to laugh. And when we laugh, that changes our state, does it not? And brings us into the state that we want to be in right now, which is a state of enjoyment and happiness. So that was your first amuse-bouche. I hope you've been amused. And your second little palate cleanser, if you're with the kids, and of course it is the holiday season, I knew this would be a group of adults tonight, but if you're with the kids and you can't do that particular encounter to release stress, you can always do this one. You can do it around the kids. You can even teach it to your kids. This one is an instant stress reliever that you can do anytime, any place that you have about 1 minute. Takes less than a minute to do this. So I want you to do it with me. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you to roll your eyeballs up in your head really hard. And when they're up there really tight, I'll ask you to close your eyelids down and then take a breath and relax your eyeballs. Then I'll ask you to take one more breath and relax the rest of your body just as you relaxed your eyeballs. So now let's do that together. Everybody look up really hard, as high as you can. And with your eyeballs up there, close your eyelids down. That's right. Take in a breath. And as you exhale, relax your eyeballs. Take in another breath. And as you exhale, release the rest of the muscles in your body. And then as slowly as you can, open your eyes and come back feeling relaxed. Feeling better. And that does feel pretty good, doesn't it? You know, you could do that at a stoplight. Now, not if it's just turned green, right? But if it has just turned red and you're stressed in traffic, you pull up there, put your car in park, and you can do that technique right there before the light turns green. Something you can do. Also, if your kids piss you off, you can always turn around and do that, or just do a real eye roll and imagine the rest, right? That's how you can get rid of those frustrations. One final one to send us off into the evening. You can use these between courses, by the way, anytime you choose. You can use this when you're alone or through the evening or anytime. You can use any of these to change your state, to get yourself into a party mood or into a mood that makes you feel great. So this one's called the inner smile. You can do this with your eyes open or closed. It doesn't really matter, but just imagine an inner smile crossing across your mind, dancing into your eyes. Use the corners of your mouth just a little bit. That's right. As if you have a secret that you're not going to tell anybody. Yes, let that smile just dance through your mind. Smile into every part of your body. Smile into every part of you. Smile into any part of you that feels great. Smile into any part of your body that's uncomfortable, tight, sore, craving, negative. Smile into it until it begins to ease and relax. Smile into any part of your body that feels good. That's right. Increase the smile by thanking that part of your body for keeping you healthy and strong. Oh, thank it for cooperating today and for feeling good and healthy. Smile into your whole life. Express thanks for the good things in your life, the relationships, the job, your hobby, your projects, your friends, your home, the space you have around you. Whatever, thank it, feel grateful. And notice how your body and your attitude begin to change to feel calm or uplifted or great. Allow that greatness to rise up in you. Notice the shift and change your energy and feel good. Come on back, bring that feeling with you, and you know, here's the secret. Anytime you do that inner smile and take it through your body, it increases the serotonin that goes to your brain. That's the happy chemical. So why not make yourself happy? Now, I've offered 3 amuse-bouche ideas for you tonight. Michael, thank you very much for the opportunity. And those are my offerings. We can sprinkle them as we need to go. I haven't gotten the wrap it up sign. Do you want me to continue, Michael, or can we use the time?
Well, you've got approximately a minute left, and
I am going to say cheers and say, I am grateful. I am grateful for Michael Watson for giving me this opportunity and letting me co-host this amazing event every second Tuesday of the month. And I'm grateful for all of you guys, because you come and you make this really worthwhile and a wonderful experience. Thank all of you. Yeah. I'm very grateful to have all of you and hypnosis in my life. I just see all these smiling faces and it tickles me.
Well, and it's not only their faces that are smiling, their bouches have all been amused.
Ooh, good.
So we're very thrilled, and thank you so much for doing that. And Karen, as you mentioned, as the co-host, I want to keep you around here for a minute, because we're about to come up to the soup course. Now, I don't know what they might have to say about it, but my understanding is that the soup is where the nutrition really begins to be, introduced in a way that leads towards the rest of the meal. So I'm really curious about what that might be, and I wonder, who's doing that, don't you, Karen?
I do. Yes, I know that it will be hearty fare.
Why don't you introduce our friend?
Oh, I will then. I will introduce my dear friends Jess Marion and Shawn Carson, who have taught me so much as well. Thank you guys for joining us. And what kind of soup offering do you have for us tonight?
Thanks, Guru.
That's what makes him my favorite.
That's all I've got to say to you.
Well, hey, everybody. That was
Thank you, Jess.
Awesome, Karen. Thank you so much.
It's great to have you here for our Christmas banquet. First of its kind ever.
This is lovely, and we do apologize if we're looking a little bit dark. It's, it's our lighting at home.
Mood lighting.
Yeah, set the ambiance.
Yes, exactly.
So our offering, well, tonight we have our typical Tuesday evening tradition, which involves sushi and ramen. And ramen is one of my absolute favorite soups. So we get a lovely one with like fried chicken and dan dan sauce, which is like a spicy sauce. And it's just really delicious. And every time we order it, I kind of like think back to my college days. Because ramen, not like the nice ramen that we had tonight, but like the 50-cent packets of ramen were a staple.
Oh, I love those.
I still love those too.
Yeah.
And my mind would just like go through all of these memories and different associations that I had to ramen, and kind of got me thinking, because our clients do something really similar. Most problems that clients come to see us for, or even problems that we create in our own lives, they all use one particular circuit in the brain, and it's called the default mode network. And this network of connections in the brain, its job is to filter out sensory information and to hold into place the stories that we have about ourselves and the world around us. And the default mode network is really important for navigating and functioning as a normal human being and member of society. But it can be problematic for clients, because when we have problems, most problems, with the exception of PTSD to some extent and pure phobias, like one-step phobias versus just fears, every other type of problem is going to be wound up at some level in the default mode network, the stories that we tell ourselves. I have a number of clients who, they come for long-term coaching, and as they go through the coaching process during the week between sessions, they're thinking about, the problems that they want to change. Some clients are able to overcome that really quickly and keep moving forward. Other clients, they wind themselves up kind of like, the ramen at the bottom of the bowl. So what can we do to help undo that? How can we help a client to separate themselves out from the stories that their brain is telling them? So that's the technique that I'm going to share tonight. And it's a combination technique. It has some of its base in some things I learned from our friend John Overdurf, and then some things that I had added into it a few years ago when I kind of realized, without knowing what the default mode network was at that time, when I kind of realized that I was running stories that weren't so great and were amping up problems. So it's a really easy technique, something that I teach all of my clients to do, and I task them to do it in between sessions, especially when problematic states come up. And the goal here is not to stop the problem state, because that in itself can amp up some clients. The goal is to separate the client out from the state so that they can witness it, they can know that they're having some sort of physiological experience, but they don't have to wrap themselves up in the story. So it's really easy to do. And if everybody would like to play along, that would be great. And you don't have to have any type of problem or anything. You can just do it as an experience. And the first step is to just go ahead and close your eyes, because we know that with our eyes closed, the brainwaves tend to slow down and is more conducive to a state of relaxation. And with your eyes closed, just allow your jaw to relax. So you're taking pressure off the vagus nerve. You're opening up communication throughout the body, through the gut, the heart, and the top brain. And you can be aware of your breathing. And just allow your awareness to spread out, to stretch out beyond you. And one way of doing this is to just become, at first, aware of the edges of your body. Aware of where you stop and the rest of the world starts. Or you can be aware of where the rest of the world stops and you start. What would it be like if you stretched your awareness out an inch outside of all of the edges of you? What would happen if you expanded your awareness as far out as you can, both to your left and to your right, to all the space in front of you, all the space behind you, the space from the top of your head to what's above you, and all of the space below you, because you can be aware of where you're sitting and feel the ground below you. Know that you're being supported by the earth. And anything that isn't in the present moment, you can move the past to the past, the future to the future, and just keep your awareness on what's happening in your body. And then think to yourself, I am. And then just allow yourself to be. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back to the outside world. So this is one really nice and easy technique that I share with clients. I think we have time, so I'm going to share another one. Because sometimes clients get really caught up in their head, and if we ask them to kind of go inside and do this, they still are going to bounce around their story. So another thing you can do is, if you were to, with your eyes open, just pick some point in the room around you, something that you can look at. And as you notice whatever that is, have an awareness of the space between you and that object. So really allow yourself to feel the space in between you and that object. And I'll call it, for our purpose, object number 1. You might want to name it something else because I don't know what's in your space. Then move your attention to another object somewhere else in the room. Object number 2. And be aware of the space between you and object number 2. So it's like you can fill all of the atoms that connect you to that object, because that empty space is not empty, it's filled with atoms. You could fill that space with your consciousness. And maybe you might want to choose an object now that's either closer to you than the other 2, or maybe further away, just changing the proximity a bit. So you can play with spatial awareness. And just bring your attention to the space in between you and object number 3. And once you have a sense of that, move your attention to the space between object number 1 and object number 3. Allow your awareness to rest in that space. Or move your attention between object number 2 and object number 1. Or you could allow your awareness to be in the space between all 3 objects, maybe connecting them in a way that you hadn't realized. Because even if they're in a straight line, with your attention, you can fill all of that space that at one time was empty, but now is filled with consciousness. And then just allow your attention to come back to normal, everyday waking experience. So that's the second type of exercise that I'll give clients to do to help between sessions, reaffirm the work that we've done, and give them some tools to have state control in everyday life. And the cool thing with either of these 2 practices is you can treat them as a meditation. So the more you practice it, even without wanting to necessarily move out of a bad state, the more you have it as a daily practice, the more you can become aware of the different layers of your own attention, your own awareness. I'll do different variations of this on my own, and the unconscious mind might give you some really pleasant surprises. Because, we, in the Ericksonian world, we talk about the unconscious mind being this treasure trove of wisdom. And sometimes when you open the door without any type of expectation, without the need to do anything, but just discover more of who you are, that's when creativity and brilliance really come forward. So those are my 2 offerings for today. Did you want to add anything, Shawn?
I'm just going to read the comment that Scott says that your shirt is a lot older than you are.
It is. It is, but I'm a science nerd, so.
And yes, indeed, these are, especially the second one, is very close to the Betty Erickson induction. The Betty Erickson induction, of course, invites the client to put their attention on things external further away, external closer, and then moving internally to bring their attention internally and therefore into trance. So yeah, it's very close to that. It's also very close to the peripheral, especially the first exercise is very close to the peripheral awareness, peripheral vision, peripheral sensing of the world around you. And of course, what that does is if somebody's in a fight or flight type of mode, they're in more of the foveal sensory awareness versus if they're in rest and digest, they're in the peripheral type of awareness. So yeah, these are all things that factor into those 2 inductions, those 2 exercises, those 2 meditations, whatever you want to call
them. That is an offering.
That is really lovely. In fact, I was thinking it was so trippy that I was wondering if there weren't some kind of mushrooms in the soup.
Mushroom soup.
As well. Yeah, beautiful. We love to have exercises, and I don't know if you can see, but folks are pouring into the chat room saying, great, thanks for the exercises and all that. So we really appreciate it, and I'll tell you what, I having had my soup course now, and it's getting to be time for us to move towards the meal itself, and I think I just need to make sure that my appetite is stimulated, or maybe even more correctly, I think the phrase is something about whetting one's appetite.
Yes.
And I know that if it has something to do with wetting something, then it must have something to do with water, and it must be aquatic in some way. And so it seems that there could be nobody more appropriate than our own mermaid of mesmerism, Joni Neidigh, who does a lot of work with swimmers, and that's why I introduced her that way. So I don't know if you've ever been called a mermaid before, Joni, but we are lovely that you are here with us. I hope you're here with us.
I am.
Something Woods might fight you for that title, Joni, but
No, wait. Who would fight me for it?
Kelly T. Woods.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. You're right about that.
We'll have you tail wrestle for it.
That's right. Well, I like it, so maybe we could share it. What about sharing? Would that be an option?
The mermaids of mesmerism. That would
yes,
be
and that would maybe tie into my theme for tonight.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, or partly. So,
well, welcome.
So, thank you so much. I am so excited not only to be here, but for the opportunity to just share a way that I happen to deal with the holidays in general. Of course, what I'm going to talk to you about, you could use something else. You're all so creative, but I just want to tell you, first of all, why I decided to do it this way every year. This is hard to say, almost 20 years ago, I was going through my normal routine. At that time, I had younger children, and I am the go-to at my house for the holiday buffet. I serve all of the food for Thanksgiving, for what we celebrate, Christmas, New Year's. And so I've always done that. And that, not really being aware at the time, at the way I am now, not noticing things the way that I do now, I was just going through the motions and, seeming like any other holiday. However, on this Christmas Eve, where I had prepared my last part of the meal, my last task, waiting for all my guests to arrive, I felt this burning through my back all the way through to what felt like maybe my gallbladder or something, but it was enormous pain. And so my guests arrived, and I made sure everyone was served, and then I asked my husband to take me to the hospital. And so it was a real wake-up call, because I was totally unaware of my stress level, and I had not taken any self-care or any measures or had anything in place to meditate, to visualize, and just to take those few moments to take care of myself. I believe in that day, at any point, if I had done that, I would have been okay. So ever since that wake-up call, and they, by the way, did not find anything medically wrong with me after I spent the whole night there, and they diagnosed me, of course, with stress, I decided it was time to turn things around. So I love trees. I love holiday trees. I love the lights. White lights are beautiful, but I love colored lights because, of course, that adds animation, and we can get really creative and we can have different associations with those colors. And so my offering tonight is to share with you the meditation that I do during the holidays when those trees and those things are available to me. So if you all would just follow along with me, and of course, you can do this any way you want. Colors can be in any order. You can add any meaning, any mantra, but I'll just show you how I do it and see how that feels for you all. And if you think that's something you could pass along to your clients or other people as they're enjoying their holiday trees or maybe lights or whatever it is that's festive and colorful around them. So if you'll just close your eyes. And I want you to just think of the color blue, whatever shade it might be. Maybe the color blue that you can imagine that you've seen on a tree, a holiday tree, or anything else. And I want you just to think of peace and associate that color with peace. And this mantra or this saying that I use, I can easily shift my heart to feel peace. I can easily shift my heart to feel peace. I do this with my eyes closed, and then I open my eyes after I reflect and I relax and I get my body into a great place in my mind. And then I look at the blue lights and I focus only on the blue lights. And then I close my eyes again and I think of the color gold. And it can be any shade of gold you want. I happen to like that Olympic gold, that gold that represents success, you know, the payoff for all of the hard work. And I reflect on and I celebrate. So I would say that to make that connection between gold and celebration, thinking about what you can celebrate for the year. You know, what went right? What just absolutely went right? And what were some things that didn't seem like they were going down the right path, but resulted in incredible new learnings? Or the sense of accomplishment for having gone through it and gotten creative about it, or sought support, or whatever it is you did it. And that feeling of celebration, knowing that you can celebrate something every day. And so when I do that, I open my eyes, I look at my tree, and I focus only on the gold lights. And so much comes to mind. And then I move along, and I close my eyes again, and I think of the color red. And when I think of the color red, I really, really appreciate and let myself just process and go through and wander around and see who I can find, people, reflecting on people and memories and things that happened, experiences that made me feel joy. And so I associate the color red with joy. And I say to myself, I'm filled with joy and gratitude as I reflect on these people, these things, these experiences, these learnings, my clients, family, all of these things that bring me joy. And then I open my eyes and I focus only on the red lights. And then I move along and I close my eyes again and I focus on the color green. Oh, I love that color green as I focus on it. As I love change, I love learning, I love meeting new people. So I think about what I'm going to do next. I think about what risk I might take. Think about what opportunities might present themselves or that I might seek out. I think about choices, different choices that I could make, or keeping the same choices. Think about adventures, anything that I might want to future pace. And I enjoy that as I imagine it. And I say to myself, may my heart be kind, my mind fierce, and my spirit brave. And then I open my eyes again, and I focus only on those green lights. And then I close my eyes again one last time. And I go back to that color blue. And I say to myself, I connect with what is peaceful around me. And I'll just allow myself to enjoy that peaceful feeling, that harmony, the love, the balance, the evenness, the symmetry, everything that I can think of that represents that. And whatever shows up, shows up. But I open my eyes again, focusing only on those blue lights. Just allowing myself to sit there now and integrate it all. Knowing that I've taken that time, that self-care, that didn't take a lot of time, but so much happened in those moments. And that's how I do it.
Ah, an audible sound.
I know, right? So how am I doing on time?
You're doing lovely, and you actually have another 6 minutes.
Great. So I'm in Las Vegas, so I'd just like to talk about that. And can you imagine how many lights are around me right now?
Yeah.
I was totally disappointed that I didn't have a tree in this hotel room that I could have behind me to do that exercise. But all of the lights, that's been a beautiful experience for me. And I've been working with a lot of different athletes here, and, you know, under a great deal of stress, because for athletes, this is a really, really busy time of year. And I think I mentioned in our more casual chat earlier that Las Vegas is hosting the first ever, the inaugural ISL, International Swim League, to try to get more people to come and be spectators of the sport and to give opportunities for them to see these really amazing athletes that we have that compete at such a high level. And so they are going to be under that pressure and a lot of stress right up until that holiday where they can finally return to their families. So this technique has been really, really useful for them and giving them something to focus on, because they tend to get that tunnel vision and that isolated focus on just, you know, getting through that event and not enjoying anything that happens before, even during. And then we want them, of course, to do that after, because they have a lot of issues with, and I liked what Jess was talking about, you know, the different brains. You know, I always ask them, where do you feel it when they tell me, you know, I'm a little off, or, you know, I'm not myself. You know, I'll say, okay, where do you feel it? And of course, it's one of those brains at work. And it's so great that we can identify that in our work, you know, in what we do, and just give them something to do with that physical, you know, part that shows up. And so I've been doing a lot of that out here, and it's been great. But I'm looking forward to going home. Also with my private clients in the counseling business, you know, who are open to and need, and you know, so many things are happening. They're only able to see that sometimes that they're alone, or they don't have, you know, that they don't have anyone to share festivities with. And so sometimes all these lights and all of these sensory things that are around us can do so much damage and be so hurtful. It's just another way to get them to look at things, is to use that concept of the lights and, you know, and the colors and having them shift, and that whole mantra, the whole idea that I can easily shift my heart.
Yeah.
You know, it's very important. And when they see that, it's great. So
that's really great. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no.
I just, I realized that I hadn't done this with the other presenters. So I want to let everybody know that when we send out the replay tomorrow, I'll also include contact information for the folks that you've been hearing, because some of these people have some really specialized areas, and Joni is certainly one of those. And it just occurs to me that if you want to be able to get in touch with these folks, that we want to make that available. Joni, where is it that I keep forgetting? I get confused because I think of you as a Florida person, and where are you at?
Thank you for that, because I am a Florida person. I'm a native Floridian, and I'm still living in the town. I was born in Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah. And so I'm not too far away from you. I do have an offering for everyone that I'll put in the chat box. I created a product called Hypnosis for the Holidays, and it's actually a little talk about it, really just bringing an awareness to all of the stressors that are unique to the holidays, and giving some suggestions for dealing with those. And then I have a quick relaxer. So if you want to offer that to your clients, or just listen to it, or use it to make one yourself, that is an offering that I have. But of course, 15 minutes, it wouldn't not have worked on here. But you see all these great things that came out of a not so great experience for me. And that's what I like to try to do, just to take whatever it is that I learn and turn it into something wonderful, some way I can reflect on it that I can move forward with. And
Tatiana in our audience here, Joni, has already turned your process into everyday colors when those lights aren't there, right?
Right.
walking through a park and see the colors in a park, or down a city street, or in your closet, looking at the clothes, whatever. I mean, it can be adapted to so many things. That's lovely.
And we knew that this group could do that, right?
Right.
So with whatever we present here, you know, that's the case. You know, it's just kind of like a real buffet, right? If you take something, maybe the appetizer you don't like, mushrooms, you can take the mushrooms off and add something else, right? And so that's what we're doing here in our buffet.
I'm loving this show tonight. I think it's just lovely. Great idea, Michael.
Well, and you have whet my appetite for success, Joni. And by the way, I did discover, I hadn't never considered it until you mentioned it, but Olympic gold is a little bit brighter, isn't it? Than
it is so bright. It is so bright. I'll be sharing actually at a couple of conferences this year. I'm going to have an actual 2 gold medals, one a national medal from a U.S. Nationals, and one from the Olympics, because I thought everyone might like to see those.
Yeah.
And every now and then you get a client that will let you do that. So
lovely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here with us and for
Yes.
for sharing all that great stuff. And as I said, my appetite is whetted now, and I am ready for dinner. Except, I think the beginning of the process. There's something I need to mention. So while we're waiting for the servers to clear our table and put our plates in front of us, I did want to mention that the IACT and IMDHA has the Galaxy of the Stars coming up once again. It is February 8th and 9th. I'm not sure that it has been promoted yet in any detail, but we've got a great collection of speakers. And for God's sake, where's my note? We're gonna have Ken Guzzo. It's all about hypnosis business this time. We're gonna have Ken Guzzo, who talks about having a 100% referral business. We're gonna have Tracy Riley. Some of you know Tracy. We're going to have Sheila Granger, who has a system for building a practice. And we are going to have Wendy Friesen. So it's going to be a lovely opportunity. So watch for that at the beginning of February.
Very cool.
So now I bet they've got those plates cleared out of the way. And I just have to say, before I'm going to turn this over to Karen in a second, but this next fella has recently also become a resident of Orlando, Florida. So a new neighbor of mine, which is truly an exciting thing. So I'm glad he's here. And Karen, will you do the honors?
Yes, I will. So Shawn Michael Andrews, yes, that new house of yours there in Orlando, I can't help but notice I don't think there's a pool in the backyard. I know there are tennis courts around. Is the pool going in before we get there in April?
It's just across the street. It's not far.
Okay. Okay. Shawn Michael Andrews is the world's fastest hypnotist.
Want to see it again?
I'm sorry?
Want to see it again?
Yeah, that's right. And he is presenting our salad course. You know, salad is fresh and crisp, and sometimes it can be fast. But Shawn Michael Andrews can do it slowly too, with creamy, wonderful dressing if we prefer. I know that he's got a lovely offering for us here, and let me just sit back and enjoy. Shawn Michael Andrews.
Okay, so now I've finally made it. I'm now roughage. Yeah. Okay, good.
You're starting the digestion. You're moving us forward.
I'm just gonna push all the. Never mind. I'm not going there. I am not going there. Okay. So. All right, it's Christmas, and one thing I wanted to mention that yes, I am in Orlando, but to Joni, I also grew up in Mayport, Florida, so very close to you, yeah. So, but anyway, so I was listening to Shelley talk about her first husband, and one of the things I noticed was, for a very long time after Shelley's story, no one took a drink of anything. Everyone was guzzling down their wine, and then Shelley told her story, and Shelley, for you.
Yeah, nobody took a drink of anything. I was in the other room shooting up, actually.
Oh, God. Oh, crap.
Just kidding.
Michael, all right.
Timing is everything.
Michael, we almost had an accident here. Okay, so anyway, it's Christmas time, and many of us have children, but some of the children have grown up and gone away. And the interesting thing about Christmas time when you have children is the wonder, Santa Claus and the Christmas lights and the tree and the train going around the Christmas tree and everything. And I wanted to talk about hypnosis, because sometimes you lose sight of the fact of how wonderful what we do is, how wonderful the talent that you have, how wonderful it is. It is. As I look at all the video around here, I see some very, very experienced people here. I thought there might be one or two newbies, but I don't see a one here. But that's okay, because these are the people that I wanted to talk to, because what you do is so interesting. You are, and you lose sight of the fact that when you walk into a place, you are absolutely the most interesting person in the room. I mean, I'm traveling around just meeting people in Orlando, and of course it comes up that I'm a hypnotist. I don't know how it comes up. Maybe I say it, but anyway, it comes up that I'm a hypnotist, and these people are amazed. 9 out of 10 of them are just really. The funniest thing I heard in a long time, this one girl said to me, she said, "You're a I didn't know they still did that." Yeah. What in the heck? I didn't know they still did that. And of course, and you get the usual questions, can anybody be hypnotized? How does it work? How did you get started? Or the one I hear a lot, is that stuff real? And it's a wonderful opportunity for us, not just to build your business, but just to have fun. I mean, I still get such a kick out of what we do. It is, I'm still excited about it. And everybody who you talk to, 9 out of 10 of them are excited about what you do. So do you have, I mean, I know we get a little jaded sometimes, and it's just like, but do you have your favorite answers to their favorite questions? Is this stuff real? How does this stuff work? I mean, it's a wonderful opportunity to just connect with another human being, but also to promote your business. And so a simple process, and oh, by the way, interesting thing happened. I was off shopping for a new tire, and I needed a watch battery for my watch. And so on my way to kill time, I walked past a jewelry store, and I walked in there. It's one of these weird ones. I don't know, Michael, you have to help me out. Is this normal in Orlando, where I walked into this airlock and then they had to buzz me in? They locked me in there and then they buzzed me in. Is that normal here?
Well, I don't know if it's normal, but I'll tell you what, when your watch battery doesn't work, so you're killing time, I think the
that was totally by accident, Michael. That was totally by accident. But anyway,
an unconscious mind
picking up on that. So anyway,
you must have been to a chicer place than I go to.
So I had to walk in there. I even had to take my hat off so I could prove that I didn't have a bomb in my. But anyway, so I went in there, and it came up that I was a hypnotist, and while we were killing time for the guy to work on the watch, and the girl had all these questions about hypnosis, and so I answered them, and I walked her through, of course, my favorite suggestibility test, which is the finger magnets, and I walked her through that, and I got my watch battery for free. I was not charged for my watch battery. Now, I don't know if that was because I entertained this young woman, or if they just had a spare watch battery sitting around on the floor and said, "Oh, let's put this in." But anyway, my watch is running, and it was free. So what I would like to talk about is what you do at Christmas parties. And I have a simple thing, because you know what, sometimes I know some of you have been in this business for so long, and people were interested in hypnosis, and you have an opportunity to show off and to entertain people, and maybe you don't take it. So just my simple process, and this is usable for everybody who even uses progressive muscle relaxation inductions, which 80% of the hypnotists in the world use. It's fine. So you're at the party and they say, you're a hypnotist, can you show me something? Easy as pie. Okay, so you just say, okay, this is what I want you to do. And then follow along with me if you'd like. We're not doing hypnosis. And Michael, I have how many minutes? Oh, or I'm out.
You have about 6.
6. Okay, cool. So you've all done this, but do it again with me. Okay, squeeze your hands together, interlock those fingers. All right, get them nice and tight, nice and tight. All right, now don't do this yet, but when I tell you to, I want you to raise your hands up in front of your face and spread your fingertips about ½ an inch apart and stare at the space between your fingertips. Okay. All right. Squeeze them together nice and tight. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Magnets. It's as if there are magnets in those fingertips and they're moving together closer and closer together because they want to touch, because the magnets are very, very powerful and they want to touch and they get closer and closer and closer together. That's right. And now almost everyone will touch. When I snap my fingers, they come apart. Now, what I am doing lately is I am then seeing my best people and saying, let's do this one more time because you did very well. You want to convince them that they're doing very well. And you walk them through it again. And then you go to the second part where you say, and as you stare at those fingertips, often they touch and they stick. In fact, the harder you try to pull them apart, the Ericksonians are like this, the more they stick. Try to pull them apart. And then if you care to, just gently push their hands down and gently guide their head forward and say sleep. And then you go into it, Aaron's test. You test them for eye lock. You test them for arms stiff and rigid. And then you can stick their hand to the table or wherever they happen to be. And they will enjoy it. You will enjoy it. You'll have a good time. The other people at the party will have a good time, and people will get more interested in hypnosis. Now, if you wanted to do something else, you could often you say, well, nobody wants to get hypnotized. Well, or everyone says they want to. A group induction is a great way to go because then there's no pressure on anybody. And then out of your group of 3 or 4 people that you hypnotize, you just pick the best one. And that's the person that you do a few exercises with, like for instance, take away their name. So anyway, it's as I say, I have not lost the wonder and the joy of what we do, because what we do is the most interesting job in the world. It is the most interesting talent someone can have. We know how easy it was to learn it, but nobody else does. You know, have you ever had somebody say, "Hey, we want you to share your gift with it"? Gift? Come on, I was not born a hypnotist. I didn't come out, you know, with the spiral in my hand and all that. No, and or the watch or something like that. Yeah, little baby with the watch. Yeah, little baby watch. No, people do not realize how easy this was for us to learn. It was hard to get really good at, but it was very easy to learn. So just hang on to that wonder. You are the most interesting person in the room, and people love to see what you do. So just go out there and do it. And I've had so many wonderful jobs in my life, but none this wonderful, nothing this interesting. And I'm just so thankful that I get to do what I do and help people, not just entertain them, but help people, which is the best thing. And what's that worth? How many more minutes, Michael? One more?
Probably about 1, 2.
Two, but I think you froze.
Oh, I think he froze. It's cold. It's winter.
He froze on 1. I mean, he is just adamant about only 1. Look at that picture.
Well, it was a technique.
You got me again? You got me again? Okay. All right.
Together.
So you help somebody. You help somebody with a phobia. What is that worth? What is that worth to give somebody their life back? You help somebody with smoking. I mean, what is that worth? Additional years of life. You are very cool. You do wonderful things, and it's hard not to get emotional about the value of what you do. And so just revel in that, and yeah, you're great people and you do great things. So
That's great.
So
well, thank you, Shawn.
that's it.
That's wonderful stuff.
Thank you.
By the way, I loved your story about the watch, because particularly, and then you mentioned this thing about you weren't born with a watch in your hand, were you? You seem to have a certain obsession about that.
I know.
I'm old enough that the first time I did hypnosis, I had to use a sundial. It was a whole different thing. But it's lovely having you here, and again, I'm really excited that you're in Orlando. I'm looking forward to talking to you soon. So
yes, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for inviting me. You guys take care. Merry Christmas.
You betcha. All right. Well, what a wonderful time we are having here at the banquet. So now it's interesting because the next course, of course, being the main course, some of you may have gotten the turkey. Some of you may have gotten the ham. Some of you may have opted for a vegetarian option. So it will be interesting that we can probably enjoy all of those and more from our guest, who I'm so glad that he's with us. He's had a little bit of drama at home, and so made it. I haven't seen his picture on the screen yet, so I hope that you're hearing me, Jason, and that you're
Michael. The call's coming from inside the webinar.
Ah,
yeah. Had to do it right. Hey guys.
There you go. Lovely. Welcome.
You're at the office in your PJs?
You're damn right. I put on shoes and a jacket and I drove here for this.
I'm so happy about that.
Well, it was only fitting because part of the theme of what I'll share tonight is probably the one strategy that built so much of the business that I now run nowadays. And this is one of the few things I've not had to get altered at 5'4". So this is pretty much it.
Well, I am ready for the main course. I mean, I think everything has been lovely up to this point. That it's really whetted our appetite, as Michael said. What do we have for the main course?
Oh, is that me up? Cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my son's got strep throat, so this was a maybe up until this point, but I'm feeling much better and on antibiotics, and yay, good times. Yeah, so thought I'd jump in and basically not to hype anything that I'm about to share, but a simple strategy, which if you make use of this one method, you can easily triple your hypnosis income in one simple move. You can reduce your workload by maybe 1/3. You're noticing a bit of a theme here, perhaps. You can help your clients even better by actually addressing their change, and in the words of what some would refer to as generative change, or some guy who was cracking jokes a little while ago about shooting up in the other room, Michael, about evolutionary change, moving them out of the problem and into the solution. Basically, one simple strategy to arm your clients with even better change. And what I'll just give a little bit of a preamble to here was that, I may say some things that go a little bit against what you might have already been doing up until now, or perhaps how you've been told to run your business, perhaps. But just simply put, the fact that you're all here tonight means that you're here to learn and ready to model things that may be a little bit differently, and just basically see how's that going to happen. And Karen, stop smirking at the complex equivalence. I know your tricks and your magic words.
I am muting my microphone.
It's all good. Just jump on in, or we chat for a bit, or what's the, again, I'm coming in late to this.
Well, yeah. Well, you're pretty much welcome to let us know whatever it is you'd like to share. We do want to welcome you, of course. So thanks for being here for this lovely holiday repast. We've never done anything like this before, so the rules, we're making them up as we go along. So
and I'm jumping through the chat room, and I just have to call it out. Wes Rocky in the house. Hey, Wes.
Yeah.
There we go. I drove by where your office used to be this morning, but you're down where everybody else is migrating, I'm hearing.
Yeah. So we're thrilled that we're thrilled that you're here with us. And so Christmas coming along in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, we prefer the terminology to keep it all appropriate as Kwanzaa-honymous. We just cover everything in just one simple holiday and just either offend everybody or nobody all at once and just keep it simple.
Lovely.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so what I thought I'd jump in and share, which it's a simple idea with some simple phrasing that's behind it. And it's that game of often wanting to label the things that we do. And sort of the backup story to this is that, you know, there are some people who live by the let's just do sessions one at a time and kind of see how it goes, which I'd give a disclaimer that unless you have a specific strategy where you're looking to aim for the binary, it either worked or it didn't, you know, maybe something that most of us might want to avoid. I was trained at one point to tell people we do this long extended program of like 10 to 12 sessions. And I did that briefly. And I found myself like 3 sessions in going, I don't have a clue what else to do with you because you got this, keep it up. So to look instead about building something that's a little bit more, let's say, transparent, a little bit more flexible at the same time. And by doing so, you know, really build a realistic expectation, because basically here's the idea. For the majority of clients that I work with as the hypnotist, the phrase is, and you're going to hear something that's very rote now because I've only been doing it for 1 year, 1 month, and 5 days now, but who's counting? Which would be that we start with a plan of 3 sessions, and if that's all we need, fantastic. And if there's value in additional work, of course, that's an option. My goal is always to give you the most effective process and the most efficient use of your time. And in that little bit of a phrase, what have I now telegraphed? Which is that for some of the people, some of the time, 3 might be all that we need, which just that little adjustment right there does something beautiful. It breaks it out of the binary. It breaks it out of the mindset where, I mean, here's a simple example from years ago. She comes in to quit smoking and she's back in front of me at this time. I was doing another appointment and she's going, this is amazing. I haven't smoked at all, but you know, I've been thinking about it, which because we were still in process, she was aware of the fact that we were still in process. So rather than going, oh, it didn't work because I'm thinking about it, smoke, smoke, smoke. Instead, she could see that, oh, cool. Now we get to address this part of the process. Similar to that too, this becomes the experience where maybe there's some sort of hiccup in the process, some sort of, roadblock, whatever it may be. And this may sound cold, but the ability to say to somebody, you know, I know it's an odd phrase, but it's good that that happened while we're still addressing this, because now we get to address that now in such a way that you're going to find yourself more resilient, because now we get to, you know, work through it. So this little bit of an adjustment that not just for the sake of cash flow, not just for the sake of booking more people, it's instead to really see them through the process of getting out of the problem state, but also now transitioning into that solution, which again, there's going to be variation to this, of course. There's some issues that I might see them for more at the beginning. There are some where I might just see them for 1 or 2 if that's all I'm seeing is necessary and just give the phrasing. But if there's one specific system that's really built things up and really produced, I'll call it out, the client testimonials and the results over the years, it's the fact that we're moving them through the change process, not just, you know, addressing problem and hoping it all stands up, to use the wonderful Jenga metaphor, but instead putting the pieces back together where they ought to be. So again, I'll say that phrasing once more. You know, we start with a plan of 3 sessions, and if that's all we need, fantastic. And if there's value in additional work, of course, that's an option. My goal is always to give you the most effective process and the most efficient use of your time. And just to call it out, with that phrasing, here's the majority of people that I've worked with over the years. 3 or 4 sessions, good to go. They're raving fans. They're talking the process up. And yes, because I did not set the expectation of finality, that this is the very end. We've done 5 and now you're done for life. No, you're fixed. No, it's instead that there's the option for continuing, which is the second part I want to share with everybody here. Because here's the person who I've now seen, and I tracked it the other day, in the last 7 years, I have seen this woman 28 times. Mm-hmm. One of these days, I tell you, it just might work. No, it's to look that she came in for weight loss. And as she came into the second appointment, this was her demeanor. Yeah. I'm down 3 or 4 pounds. This is amazing. I have been so productive this week. I have been getting so much done. If we focus on that, the weight loss will continue, right? And now I'm smiling and nodding and saying, oh yeah, of course, that once we start to work on other things, it's reinforcing everything we've done so far. So over the course of the last 7 years, it's moved from weight loss. It's transitioned into productivity. It's transitioned to public speaking confidence at one point, to leaving the corporate soul-sucking job, as she described it, to now launch her own business. So now we're working really in the process where, I mean, it's not that it didn't work, and I've taught her things along the way, and I've called it out at times to go, you know, you could have addressed that on your own. And she goes, yeah, but I get a better result when I come here. And I'm seeing a lot of people nodding in reaction to that. So because I built that transparency at the beginning, well, here's the person who booked with me this morning. They're one of my appointments tomorrow. And I've now got these sessions that are booked out, you know, the next 3 or 4 weeks around the holidays. Side note, they've paid in full at the beginning of it, the way that I tend to do it. And just, it's done. And we know that we're now going to be in process, and that really changes the dynamic. I'm looking at what Linda just put into the chat room, and I'll read it for everybody. What Jason said about 3 sessions, and we'll see where we're at, is exactly how I phrased it for years. My number of sessions is different. I may vary it again based on the specific issue. I've got different sets of forms, but it's a great way to allow variations in the program length. And again, without, if all you do is just start with 2, you've taken it out of that binary, it worked or it didn't, it's a 1 or it's a 0. So just that alone is going to get things in motion, which there's a moment about 3 years ago, I worked with someone, we did some private consulting for his business. And he goes, if there was just one way that I could just, you know, grow my business substantially in the next week, that would just fix so many other personal issues, financial issues. And this was the one thing that we implemented. And the best feedback was, it wasn't just his thank yous. It was the wife on her own sending an email going, he's getting better results. I've been telling him this for years, which we didn't want to create marital strife, but things are better now. I've got a second part to this about what do you do if you're seeing the need to add appropriate more sessions, which we can come to in a bit. But Michael, Karen, this is the game. What happens when you take someone who's hosted like 250 podcasts and a couple of dozen webinars, and suddenly now it's 3 hosts competing at the same time. But we all have fun here.
That's right. And what I will tell you is you have about 3 minutes left. So if you want to tell us something else, give it to us.
So here's the next phase of this, which this is not meant to be influence and persuasion. However, if we phrase things in the right way, we can produce a more consistent result. And the disclaimer is, I'm only going to do this if I can see the value and if I can appropriately, I'll use the S word, sell the value to my client. So the mindset of not quite a yes set, I refer to it as a checkpoint of just basically getting the foot in the door. It's very Elmanian in nature. You know, we'll just kind of role play it. You know, Shawn, do you have another Thursdays at 4 o'clock? Is that time generally good for you? I always get a yes, because that's the time we've just met. Because I think if we were to add additional appointments, if we were to meet at least one more time, what I think would be the most helpful is that you've mentioned some of the emotional triggers around this issue, to spend some time specifically on that, and even better, teach you some more self-hypnosis strategies so you've got greater resilience even long after we work together. So if we were to meet again, that's what I think would be the most appropriate for you. Tell you what, if Thursday is generally good, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and schedule like 3 weeks out from now. You know, my schedule tends to fill up. And this way, if you get to that point and see that there's more benefit to working together, you're already on the calendar and we're set to go. If, however, you get to that point and you see, wow, things are going fantastic and I don't need you anymore, I'll be even happier to hear that knowledge. In fact, you can easily cancel the appointment from the message and just, you know, put me a note in there letting me know just how well you're doing. So today's the 10th. How about we set the 21st at 4 o'clock? Is that time good for you? Which I am near 100% in terms of a sales strategy with that mechanism. And to give rough numbers, I'd say the overwhelming majority, roughly 80 to 90%, keep that appointment. And if they don't, it's for a good reason. And it's an easy pivot now into some other system to get the testimonial, to get some sort of specific feedback. So by looking at phase 1, start with that series of appointments. to build the value and really see them through the change process. Step 2, do damn good work. Get results. And if not, you've got a whole host of amazingly fantastic people to learn from and just, continue that training. And then again, there may be the moment, I've stolen this language from when I had to get oral surgery a few years ago, and the periodontist looked at me and said, all right, you graduated. You don't have to come back here anymore. And sometimes that is the nicest thing you can say to a client. But I will, throw in the secondary part of, however, if we were to work together, I think this is what might be helpful. Makes sense? And just by, again, planting that seed, but I found the phrasing of that rather than going, hey, let's do another session. It's $300, eyes wide open. Instead, this is the experience where Thursdays at 4, is that time generally good for you? Yes, because I think if we did this, that would be helpful. Does that make sense? Yes. Well, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and schedule it. If we get to there and you need it, you've got it. If not, we can easily cancel it. Again, give me the appropriate notice, because I'd love to hear how well you're doing. All the phrasing is towards their positivity, their strength, their independence. And seeing that it's now at time, let's make it sound like a catchphrase. That's how you work smart.
Brilliant as always, Jason.
Boom.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great main course. We can take that right into the holidays, into the new year with us.
That was a great main course. So thank you so much, Jason. We really appreciate it, and hope that the strep throat goes away from your house. And
it's the reason I'm here, so I don't catch it.
yeah, that's all right. I have a history with it, so I'm really glad to not.
Those tonsils are coming out in the next year. I know it.
So, well, thanks. So now it is time. It is time for our dessert course, and I think that is just so cool because as soon as you finish, the server at least came here. I've got my hot chocolate and bundt cake, so I'm ready to.
Very nice.
I'm all set for that. And
a delightful chilled strawberry dipped in warm, luscious chocolate.
Yeah. Well, there's one other little sweet, before we introduce our dessert course to you, there is one other sweet little thing that I want to share with you, is that while you were all enjoying Jason's presentation just now, we received this beautiful picture that I think you have to see. This is Michael and Karen responding to Karen's process.
From earlier.
I like it. We definitely learned a new technique tonight, and this comes from Pedro Alvarado, who's online. So thank you, Pedro. We're thrilled with the gift.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
You're welcome.
Cool. All right. So who's ready for something sweet and special and lovely and all of that good stuff? Because we have joining us from Northern California, two lovely ladies. As a matter of fact, on camera right now, I see Kathy Kennedy and none other than Shelley Stockwell-Nicholas. And Shelley, say hello to us. Your microphone is muted, so we need to make sure we...
we got to get them open. It's a double dip, and we don't want to miss a single morsel of this.
Would not. There we go. So, hiya.
Hello, everybody. Oh, my gosh, what a great little feast we've had. And I'm here with Kathy Kennedy, who is a feast for the eyes. And she and I are so thrilled to be hanging out for the holidays and hanging out with you, which is excellent. And so when in doubt, bundt cake, right? Yep. And you are bundt caking right now, and you are eating the sweetness of yourself. And so I'd like everybody to take your hand and kiss your own hand, please. And just for the hay of it, say something nice to yourself. Yeah. You see, you have an option to be very sweet to yourself or downright nasty. And you don't have to even swallow everything if you don't want to, which reminds me of a story. And my story is about my friend Donna Tooley, who she was given a little mint that she put in her pocket. And she was waiting for me in the car. I was running an errand. And she reached in her pocket, and rather than drawing out the mint from her pocket, she accidentally drew out an Alka-Seltzer. And she threw it in her mouth. And I got to the car just at the time to see her foaming at the mouth. And she was speechless, basically, because I guess I've never eaten an Alka-Seltzer whole. But evidently, when you eat an Alka-Seltzer whole, and it starts going down your gullet, you know, it feels funny. And then it hits somewhere down here, and then pretty soon it gets to your stomach. And I don't know, she was exploding. And so after this fandango with the Alka-Seltzer, I said, Donna, why didn't you spit it out? And she said, I didn't think of it. I didn't think of it. And it occurred to me, how many times do you swallow a bunch of crap, something that is so toxic and so negative and so annoying or so irritating, and you buy it, you swallow it, you try to digest it, and it won't work. And which brings me to a song. Are you ready? You are what you eat. That's all you need to know. Good food is fuel that makes you laugh and grow. Eat lean and green, feel strong and tall. Good for you, good for me, good for us all. You are what you eat. Junk food makes you fat. Someone gives it to you, throw it away like that. You are what you eat. That's all you need to know. Good food is fuel and makes you laugh and grow. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes and think of something that is so delicious, but is good for you. It could be that strawberry dipped in chocolate that Karen was talking about, because it would remind you of your grandmother or your Uncle Fred in Des Moines. Or think about maybe that bundt cake that Michael is sinking his gorgeous teeth into. Or it could be one of the delicious people at the top bar of your screen right now. Just think about licking them. Because they're so delicious. Because all of you are so delicious. And so my message as the dessert course is this. You are the dessert. And you get your just desserts if you're very, very calculating on what you swallow and what you spit out. And some people in the world are going to try and toxify you with crap. And it's your choice to swallow it or spit it out. It's your choice to savor whatever you want to savor and make it absolutely delicious. Now, when I used to teach with Orman McGill, he used to do a very interesting thing with his weight loss people. He would get a grape, just a plain old green grape, let's say, and we would peel the grape. That took a while. Peel the grape, we put the peeling down, and then you take that grape. Oh, do it, Alan. Alan, keep peeling the grape. Oh, I love you, Alan, for that. Alan is demonstrating, yes. Don't put it in your mouth yet. Okay, have you peeled it, Alan? This has an appeal. Now, after he's done peeling the grape, Alan, because you're my demo model here, you're going to do something maybe you've never done before. You're going to put the grape peeled in your mouth, but do not bite into it. Nod your head if you understand, Alan. He doesn't understand. That's unfortunate. Okay, do it anyway. Put the grape in your mouth. It's not quite peeled yet. And let it just sit on your tongue. Okay? Deal, Alan? Show me a thumbs up if it's a deal. Okay, put it in your mouth. Do not bite. Just let it sit there on your tongue. And just let it sort of melt there in your tongue. And enjoy the flavor of that grape. And I know all of you are salivating right along with him because that's the power of suggestion. But Alan, as you're letting, don't chew it. Not to chew. No, no, no. Good. Just let it melt in your mouth. And as you savor the flavor, you'll notice that lots of amazing things start happening inside yourself. That one grape is like a 10-course meal of deliciousness as it permeates through your through your nasal cavity, down your throat, down your gullet. You could just enjoy that flavor and savor it. And if you eat with that kind of reverence, then when it's time to bite it and swallow it, you're so nourished, you're so fulfilled, you're so happy that you took a time to digest the concept of eating. You know, I used to be a stewardess. I was amazed as a stewardess. I would come to somebody with a tray of food, and I would give them the food, and then they would open this hole in their face, you know, and then they would take, you know, an item, and they would put it in the hole in their face, and it would disappear. It was kind of a fascinating thing when you think. And then I would take away the remnants, the dirty plate or the dish or whatever. And I thought, you know, what a weird thing we are. We're these creatures with this hole in our face, and we put stuff in it. I mean, it's really kind of a bizarre thing when you think about it. And that's how we live. We function from what goes in here. So let's all sing along for a minute. Are you ready? I am what I eat. Everybody, I am what I eat. Junk food makes me sick. If someone gives it to me, throw it away quick. I am what I eat. Junk food makes me sick. If someone gives it to me, throw it away quick. Take a deep breath. How's the grape, Alan? Oh, you're beautiful. He did it. He let it dissolve, and he savored the flavor. He nourished himself, mind, body, and spirit, just by the simple act of opening an orifice and allowing something to disintegrate into the very cells of his being. Now, that brings me to the most important part of this feast. You see, after you've indulged in the sweetness that you are, after you've nourished yourself, mind, body, and spirit, there's a tradition. You go and get a present, don't you? Isn't that the holiday tradition? So please, everyone, take a gentle breath. Let it out. Close your eyes and find a gift. It can be wrapped any way you like it. It can be any kind of decor. It can be Kwanzaa, or it can be Passover. It can be Hanukkah. It could be Christmas. It could be your birthday. I don't care. Find the gift. And notice that the gift has your name on it. And it's a sacred gift that was given to you from Spirit. And now when you're ready, when you've kind of held the gift in your hand perhaps, or kind of gotten the parameters of the packaging, open your gift. Take off the wrapping. Reach in and find the very gift that was given to you. It could be a symbol. It could be a person. It could be a place. It could be just a vibratory force field. Take that gift and look upon it, smell it, taste it, and then make a mental note of why you received this gift, because it was a sacred offering to you. You see, you are now receiving your just desserts, something very worthy of you, because it came from you. It was offered up to you, and you've just embraced it as something sacred. And go ahead and place it on an altar somewhere on your mind, or somewhere on your table in front of you. That's a very sacred finale to a fantastic banquet of like-minded friends, acquaintances, and people you haven't even met yet, whose lives you're going to touch, because you are the gift, and Michael is our Santa Claus. God bless you each. Mwah!
Well, that was sweet indeed. Thank you so very much.
And
what a wonderful thing. So we have just had an amazing evening. We have We have amused our bouche. We have whetted our appetites. We have opened our orifices. And we've just had a truly delightful banquet. The first annual virtual chapter holiday banquet. Now,
absolutely, the first annual, because we're doing this every year, man. This was great.
I want to invite people to the retreat too in March in California.
Ah, yes.
Can I mention that in March?
Yeah,
March
sure.
7th and 8th, the International Hypnosis Federation is having their annual retreat, and many of you I see on this top bar are going to join us. So can't wait.
Lovely.
Hey.
Lovely. All right, and as I mentioned, I will put everybody's contact information as well when I post the videos. So for those of you who have been visiting and enjoyed our speakers, you'll have an opportunity to be able to reconnect with them if you should wish to do that.
I've got a lovely little handout for the amuse bouche if you'd like to have that. So that'll be in the Michael.
Yes.
Know how to get hold of that.
Excellent. All right. So thanks again. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, all of the Kwanzaa. What else is there? Whatever there is, whatever it is that you're celebrating, and continue to celebrate. Keep life light, keep it delightful, and have a wonderful holiday season.
And remember, we will all be seeing clearly next year.
We will all be seeing clearly in 2020. Of course. So all right. So I'm opening up everybody's microphones now so that you can all say goodnight to all of us and happiest of holidays. And the mics are open. So good night, everyone, and thanks a lot for being here.
This is a great idea.
Thank you.
Wonderful idea.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much. This was fantastic.
Thank you.
Awesome. Happy holidays.